Okay, good day everyone. Back in Lamplight City. Last time we did a lot of reading, I know that, but it is a new day for me, so let's have a quick gander at the case file. Oh, that's right, we're here to try and learn about Linda Walker. Okay. Let's have a quick look. I think we already looked at the guest book.
Members in this group.
Linda Walker, there we are. Looking forward to hearing you over the manor next week, at the manor next week, come around. Yes, so that's the nanny, I believe. You've just written that. Okay.
The plaque says Leonora Pattinson, seer. She looks like someone I would not want to fool around with.
Okay. I'm not sure what you're suggesting there, but alright. I think we've looked at everything else. Did we look at the crystal ball?
Said to me,
Yeah, we did, yeah.
now.
And so am I. Lol. Okay, right, let's talk to Angela.
Could I ask you about some things, Miss Maxwell?
Certainly, darling.
Specter Society.
Can you tell me about the Specter Society?
Where to begin? I formed this club 2 years ago, right after I moved to New Britannia. During our meetings, we discuss our experiences with paranormal phenomena and organize investigations.
What sort of investigations?
We look into places all around the city which have been reported as haunted. New Britannia is teeming with the spirits of those killed during the French and British takeovers of the city. Not only that, but there is a prevalence of mystic religious practices here in Gascon, brought over by immigrants from the Antilles.
Fascinating.
There are plenty of books on the subject over there in the bookcase, if you're interested in learning more.
Yeah, we've already read all those, but thank you.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
I'm afraid I haven't heard anything about any kidnappings, darling. If you wish, I can commune with the spirits and see if I can help locate your missing person.
That won't be necessary, Miss Maxwell, though I appreciate the offer. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, and she mentioned one of your other members, Linda Walker. Can you tell me anything about her?
Linda. Poor dear. Of all our members, she is the one I feel for the most.
Why is that?
She's had a tragic life, but I believe the Spectre Society has helped her greatly. Not only has she made a good friend in Henrietta, she's also dealt with her grief in a positive way. She has devoured my collection of books, educated herself on many subjects. I would say she's become an expert on clairvoyance and metempsychosis. It's always nice to know that the club can help those who have suffered.
Do you see her often?
Yes, she comes by about once or twice a week.
Oh, we got loads of stuff here now.
What can you tell me about Linda and Henrietta's friendship?
It's so lovely to see them together at the meetings. They're practically inseparable. It's quite sweet. They often leave messages for each other in the guest book. When Linda found out that Henrietta was taking care of an infant, she even gave her a toy bear for the child. I remember Linda lighting up with excitement when she asked about him. She really loves children. It's such a terrible shame about... But please, let's discuss something more pleasant, shall we, darling?
That was interesting. Okay. So we can see where this is heading. It looks like Linda... Yeah, like Linda's past. It looks like she had a child that possibly went missing. Or worse. Either way, let's carry on.
I'm sorry, what was it you said? Madam Psy, what?
Metempsychosis, darling.
Metempsychosis.
Which comes from ancient Greece. It refers to the transmigration of the soul after death.
Is that anything like reincarnation?
Essentially, yes. There's a book on the subject over in the bookcase, which can tell you far more than I possibly could.
Yeah, we read it. Terribly read by myself. Read it nonetheless.
What's this tragic story about Linda you mentioned?
Oh dear. I probably shouldn't say.
But you will. Oh, I think you most definitely should. Know more about Linda could help find out.
Miss Maxwell, I'm going to be frank. I'm investigating a kidnapping, and Mrs. Walker is a person of interest. I need to know as much about her as possible to help me solve this case. Do I make myself clear?
Well, if it will help.
Yes.
She was married to a man named Thomas. Together, they had a son named Alexander.
Okay.
Thomas revealed himself to be a terribly cruel man. When he gave himself over to the drink, he would fly into rages and beat both Linda and the boy.
Oh, Jesus.
She came home to find both her son and husband dead.
My God,
Oh.
what happened?
The police ruled it a murder-suicide. Poisoning, apparently. Linda has been trying to make contact with Alexander's spirit for the past year or so, but has had no luck. It really is a terrible tragedy.
Okay. Murder-suicide. Why do I feel like it's double murder?
Do you know Linda Walker's address?
I'm afraid not, darling. Linda has always been somewhat private, and that's not something I consider to be crucial information.
Do you know any way I can find her?
You could always come back for our next meeting. It will be the first Thursday of next month.
By then, we'll have completely lost track of Charles. There has to be another way of finding Linda.
Okay. Myself.
What made you decide to start up this club?
I began communing with the spirits at a very early age. My twin sister, Rachel, died after falling into an icy pond when we were 8 years old.
I'm very sorry, Miss Maxwell.
Oh, I appreciate your sympathy, darling, but don't feel too bad. Rachel began speaking to me shortly after that. She has served as my spirit guide ever since.
Spirit guide? You mean you still speak with her?
Oh, yes. Every day. In fact, I was just speaking with her before you arrived. As I grew older, I realized there were others in the world who were also able to communicate with spirits, and those who had an interest in what lies beyond the ether. And so, once I moved to New Britannia, I decided to start up this club so we could gather and share our experiences.
Do you suppose she can hear what I'm saying? Angela, try a bit less eyeshadow, would you? You look like a purple raccoon. Nothing. Clearly a fraud. Ah, well.
I was wondering,
Yes?
when you communicate with the spirits, are you able to stop?
If I wish them to leave me, yes. I bid them farewell, and they usually depart back into the ether.
What about the more persistent ones?
You do remember I'm right here, don't you?
Well, just between you and me. Those spirits are best dealt with by having the other kind of spirits. Quiets them right down.
I prefer soporific myself.
Oh? You hear the voices of the spirits as well, Mr. Fordham. But of course, now the reason for your visit to the Specter Society is obvious. Do you see? All our paths eventually become clear. I'm glad yours has brought you here.
Oh, wonderful. Now she started rhyming. Get any funny ideas about telling her about me? She may be a lunatic, but that's no reason to expose yourself as one too.
Tell about
I
Bill.
don't hear the voices of all spirits, just one.
Miles, what are you doing?
Ooh.
Ah, you have a spirit guide. Please tell me more, darling.
I wouldn't call him a spirit guide so much as a spirit nag.
This is a very, very bad idea.
Do you know who this spirit is?
Yes, it's my former detective partner, Bill. I shot him on our last case together.
Shot him?
He was on a roof being held at knife point by a burglar. They were too close. I took the shot, but missed, and hit my partner instead.
Oh my, you poor darling. Is he angry with you?
Well, he is now. He doesn't think it's a good idea to tell others about him. But normally, he's the same as he was in life. He just wants me to find the man responsible for his death. I've told him I'm really the one responsible, but he insists it's the burglar.
I see. This is quite the unfortunate situation. My advice to you is this. Spirits often know best. You do well to listen to him about keeping his presence to yourself. Not everyone is as open-minded as we members of the Specter Society.
Maybe I misjudged her.
I know. It's been hardest keeping this from my wife, but I can't drive her away. She's all I've really got left.
Your story has touched me, Mr. Fordham. I will do everything I can to help you and your spirit guide find peace. If I find anything out which might help you, I will contact you personally.
Thank you, Miss Maxwell. I appreciate it.
Well, that could have turned out much worse. I'm warning you, Miles. Tell anyone else about me, and I won't be so forgiving.
Thank you for the information. It was very enlightening.
It was my pleasure, darling.
Nice. Okay, I just earned an achievement called A Kind Ear. I assume that's because I told her about Bill. Okay. And I will heed her advice about not telling anybody else. Okay, does this send me outside?
I'll be going now.
May the spirits guide you to that which you seek.
Appears so. Okay. Yep, it does that. Right, so... should we go back to Mrs. Davis and ask her about Linda? I think I will, actually. See if she says anything.
Hello again, Mr. Ford.
Hello.
I have some questions for you, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Okay, visits for Linda.
Have you ever had Linda visit you at the Harris Manor?
Oh, no, of course not.
Then would you care to explain your note to her in the Specter Society guest book?
Please, Mr. Fordham, I didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that it gets so lonely by myself in the house at night. So every now and then, I invite Linda to come over for tea and some company.
I see. And when was the last time this happened?
2 nights ago?
Oh.
Tell Mr. and Mrs. Harris, Mr. Fordham, if they found out what I was doing, they'd have me dismissed without a reference.
I won't, but I'd very much like to speak with Mrs. Walker. Do you have any idea where I can find her?
All I know is that she works as a seamstress at a shop in Lyon, but I don't know the name. I'm sorry, I can't be of any more help than that.
Okay, perhaps our wife knows.
Thank you for your time, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Because she works in the, like, beauty industry, you know, with the hairdressing, so perhaps she knows.
I'll be going now, Mrs. Davis.
May the spirits guide your path.
Yes, Mayday. Right, let's go talk to our wife.
I'm here.
Hello, Miles.
Let her read in peace for now.
Oh, okay.
I'll see you, Daddy.
Take care of yourself out there.
Maybe Constance knows? She found the hotel last time, the Bar Arms Hotel. Was it Bear Arms? Whatever the name, Boston Arms. I think.
Can we talk?
Go on, I'm listening.
What's this?
How's work going?
Hectic as usual. Crime in this city seems to be getting worse and worse every day.
I suppose that's the price of progress.
God help us if they ever actually discover that ethericity stuff then. Things between you and Adelaide getting any better?
I'm really not sure. They haven't gotten worse, but things haven't been the same between us since Bill died.
Well, you need to figure things out or everything is just going to explode in your face one of these days.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, Upton.
I'm merely speaking from experience. If I'd seen the warning signs of Harold sooner, it would have saved me quite the headache. At least your marriage seems like it's still worth saving.
Other case? What's that mean?
What's the other case you mentioned? The one you said was a higher priority.
Well, it seems we might have a mass murderer on our hands.
Oh,
Say,
That's right. I didn't say because I shouldn't say.
fair enough.
So far, we've had 3 murders with a very similar MO in the past 2 months.
Right, okay.
It's trying his hardest to keep it under wraps since the newspapers already caught wind of the first 2.
I don't envy the department there. I'm happy to stick with the missing persons and domestic disputes.
We might have read that in the paper, I don't remember.
Can we go over my current case?
Of course. What have you got?
I found this button at the crime scene. The child's nanny identified it as the eye of his stuffed bear.
Did you find the bear at the scene?
No, the kidnapper must have taken it as well.
Interesting.
Either the kidnapper is very compassionate, or it's someone who knew the child. I spoke with Henrietta Davis, the Harris family nanny.
A sensible place to start. What did she have to say?
She claims to have been unconscious when the kidnapping took place.
She must be an extremely heavy sleeper.
I don't believe so. The way she described it made it sound like she was drugged.
Interesting. Definitely worth looking into, I'd say.
Have you ever heard of the Specter Society?
I think so. They're some sort of ghost hunting club, aren't they?
A spiritualist group, yes.
Don't tell me this case has taken a turn for the supernatural.
Not exactly. It's just come up as a potential lead. Are you familiar with the term metempsychosis?
No, what is it?
Apparently some mystics and philosophers maintain that it's a process whereby human and animal souls are transferred to new bodies upon death.
Fascinating. Some people have such queer ideas. What's that got to do with the kidnapping, though?
I'm not exactly sure yet.
Sometimes I'm jealous of all the odd things you detectives get to look into.
That's enough about the case for now.
Okay,
That's it, I think.
then you'd better get back to it.
So, how's the caddy business? Making good money?
Heard the Redites are planning a big attack.
They're cutting our wages. The foreman told us all yesterday.
No, that's terrible. Why?
Because they're spending the extra money bringing in steam-powered machines. They say it's only temporary, but a lot of the others are saying they're getting ready to replace us.
So what are you gonna do?
What can I do? I'm lucky enough to have this job. I'm not about to leave it. Just gonna have to find some other way of making ends meet.
Let me at least buy you a drink.
Thanks, but I can't. I'm working a double shift tomorrow, and I need to be at my best.
Got your eye on any ladies?
Not really. Been too busy lately. I can't afford to be taking someone out right now. How about you?
Pretty much the same.
Could always try your luck with that one over there.
Already did. Wouldn't give me the time of day.
Too bad.
It's getting pretty ugly between Atwood and Leroy. What do you think of it all?
Not sure. I'm none too pleased with Atwood, but this Leroy character doesn't seem much better.
Leroy is a man of the people, though. He's trying to expose the corruption of Atwood's parliament. You do know the real reason the bridge to the Chum has been delayed so many times, right?
I thought it was because they don't have the money.
That's exactly the type of lie Atwood is feeding everyone. It's really because they want to keep the chummies out of the rest of the city. Leroy said so himself. Not only that, Atwood's trying to bring in more automated workers.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're worried about keeping your job, I'd suggest voting for Leroy.
I'm not allowed to vote, remember?
Oh, right. Sorry.
Okay, I like listening to what they say, but getting this one to work is so difficult. So unfortunately I missed some of it, as you saw, because I couldn't seem to get them to work, and then when I did, I moved away by accident. Never mind. Okay, so where are we off to next? Let's say, I think some of the stuff we read in the newspaper, but I don't actually remember. Let's say it is a new day for me, so Harris Construction Yard, Vending Office. Go to the construction yard first.
Well, someone certainly wasn't shy about making their opinion known.
And so we say to Harris and his cronies, no, we will not stand for this. Too many have died to allow this to continue. Steam tech must be stopped. The time has come to reject steam machines. They take our jobs, they take our families, they take our lives. We won't stand for this injustice any longer.
But the way this gate is set up, I think trespassers should get an award for being able to breach the fortress. Elect Hart Leroy, the man of the people. I think that's preaching to the choir around here.
Anything else you got to say, mate?
Clyde Harris has no concern for the people who died aboard the Lygia or their families. The only thing that matters to him is lining his pockets with the misery of others. To this we say no!
Don't these people have jobs they need to go to?
Lads, we will not just stand by and watch another bringer of fiery death hover over us. Mark my words, the HMS Lenore will not fly!
Pardon me, are you Arthur Devons by any chance?
Yes, who are you?
Who the Devons are you?
Investigator. Could I ask you a few questions?
Guess so, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you recognize this letter, Mr. Devons?
How'd you get that? That wasn't meant for you.
I found it at the home of Mr. Malcolm Harris. He tells me you've been sending quite a few of these to his father.
Me and everyone else would had someone killed by that devil machine. I'm not the only one, you know.
Perhaps not, but he told me you were the most persistent. What have you got against the Harris family?
The family? Don't know nothing about the family. The only one I got a problem with is Clyde Harris, the one who owns this yard. He's just like all those other rich bastards with their heads in the clouds. The man don't care about the dead. He just wants to make as much money as he can. I'm just trying to make him realize how wrong he is.
Okay.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
Charles Harris? Who's that?
Clyde Harris's grandson.
I didn't even know we had a grandson. I can't believe someone with a grandkid, a family, would want more flying death in the air. How many more people have to die before someone realizes that steam machines are evil? People will kill their own mams for a crown these days.
Do you practice voodoo, Mr. Devons?
What?
The chicken bones and dust you send along with your letters. It's a voodoo spell meant to cause bad luck in business. Quite a convenient solution, wouldn't you say?
I don't know what you're on about.
Come now, Mr. Devons. I'd appreciate it if you didn't think I was stupid.
All right, fine. I went to go see one of them magic women in Gascon. She told me about the spell and what I needed to do. I don't believe in this stuff, but I thought maybe if I used it, I could scare Harris enough to get him to stop making the new airship.
Well, I don't mean to be one to put a damper on your amateur witchcraft, but it doesn't seem to be doing you much good.
No, his grandson got kidnapped. That's not something I'd call lucky.
Why are you out here protesting?
Because what Harris Construction is doing ain't right. I lost my wife in the Lygia crash, and I'm not the only one, neither. Hundreds of people were affected by that disaster, and now these bastards are making another airship. It's like a slap in the face to everyone who died. I just can't understand it.
What do you hope to accomplish by protesting?
Simple. We want construction of the Lenore stopped and a full investigation into the Lygia disaster. Not only that, we want compensation for our losses. Royal Maverick took care of all the families of those on board, but the families of the ones in the park didn't get a single copper. It just isn't fair. We aim to make things right. After that, it'll just be a matter of time before people realize that there's no future in steam tech, and they'll call the whole thing off.
Ah, the innocence of the downtrodden. I wish I could be as naive as them. It would have made my life a lot easier.
You must have loved your wife very much.
Are you joking? I loved her more than there are stars in the sky. She was my whole world, Mr. Fordham, the light of my life. It's been nothing but cold and dark since she was killed. You're married, aren't you, Mr. Fordham? I see a ring on your finger.
I am, yes.
Then take my advice. Appreciate every moment you have with her. You never know when she'll be ripped out of your life, leaving you with nothing.
You know, this fellow was actually pretty wise. Maybe we misjudged him.
Do you recognize this button?
Can't say I do, but it looks handmade. I wonder how long it will be before the poor soul who crafted that button gets booted into the street and replaced with some steam-belching contraption.
You seem very dedicated to your cause.
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a lot of people who are against steam tech, aren't there?
Yes, the movement is gaining ground and growing rapidly, I'm pleased to say.
I've heard stories about some more extreme members. Do you know anything about that?
You mean the Redites? Sure, I've heard of them. Even met a few. But if you think I'm telling you anything else beyond that, you're sorely mistaken.
Are you a member of the Redites, Mr. Devons?
No. I prefer more peaceful methods of making my voice heard. Now, if you don't mind, I think we should drop the subject.
Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
Okay, I do believe that he's innocent. At least of the kidnapping anyway. Okay, so last lending office. Loan office.
Welcome to Faye Lenders. I'm the owner, Chester LaFay. Are you looking to take out a loan?
Not today, I'm afraid. I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator.
Look, I don't know what you've heard, but I run a clean business here. I don't need any trouble.
And I'm not here to cause any, for the moment.
Just keep your nose where it belongs. We should get along fine.
Do you suppose LaFay turns the heat up to put some pressure on his clients? Must be soothing for LaFay to be able to look at this landscape while he sits at his desk.
Is that? Oh no.
I shudder to think how many people's financial freedoms are locked away in that cabinet. A crew escaping a shipwreck on a violent sea. Not the most comforting painting to look at while waiting for a loan. LaFay with a woman and a small girl. I wouldn't have taken him for a family man. He actually has a degree in business from the University of New Britannia? What a waste.
Okay. Let's see what he can tell us.
Mr. LaFay, I'd like to ask you some questions.
Fine, but keep it brief.
Tell me what you know about Malcolm Harris.
Ah, Mr. Harris. Took out a loan about a month ago. Still hasn't paid me back. In fact, he sent along a letter yesterday saying he was having an emergency and needed more time. I probably should have refused to do business with him. As soon as he walked through the door, I could tell his type.
What type is that?
Upper class, bored with his life, trying to escape and doing it through vice. In his case, gambling.
This guy is good. Maybe you can pursue money lending if the whole private investigator thing doesn't work out.
But for some reason, I pitied him and decided to give him the loan anyway. Compassion isn't exactly an asset in this business, you see.
Nothing to worry about in your case, then.
Aside from that, I don't know anything about him. I prefer to keep how much I know about my clients to a minimum. Makes things easier for me.
Are you aware that Malcolm's son Charles was kidnapped last night?
I had no idea he even had a son. As I said, I don't ask my clients too many personal questions. Though now you've told me, I suppose that would explain the emergency he mentioned in his letter. Poor guy.
Exactly how much did Mr. Harris borrow from you?
Is that relevant to your investigation?
It would help to have an idea of exactly how much he owes you, yes.
I don't feel comfortable telling you the exact amount, but I will say it was over 500 crowns.
A considerable sum.
Like I said, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I'll get the money back one way or another.
Okay.
What's your policy regarding people who don't pay their loans back?
There are a few options. For the first 3 months or so, I'll send them a letter reminding them. After that, I start to threaten them with legal action. You wouldn't believe some of the things people do to avoid paying back their loans. One client went so far as to fake his own death.
Do you ever employ any more unusual methods?
Now wait just a minute. I see where this is going. Mr. Fordham, I'm a family man myself. If you're implying that I would stoop to kidnapping someone's child as collateral...
I never said that, Mr. LaFay.
Look, I have a family to consider. I'm not about to go getting my hands dirty when there's plenty of legitimate ways to handle the situation.
Tell me a bit about yourself and your business, Mr. LaFay.
What's to tell? I lend people money, they pay me back.
Surely it's not that simple.
Well, of course I charge interest, otherwise I'd never make a profit. I know people don't look upon the service I provide very favorably, but without my help, there would be a lot more unhappiness in the world.
How did you go about starting up this business?
I didn't. My former employer, Mr. Roth, left it to me when he passed.
That was rather good of him.
Yes, well, he didn't have any heirs, and he considered me to be the son he never had. He was fond of my family, too. I try and keep my work and home life as far away from each other as I can, though. There's a lot of things in this line of work that my wife and daughter are better off not knowing about.
I think that's all for now.
Mr. Roth. I feel like I recognize that name, but I don't know why. Okay, let's have a look at the casebook. Speak to LaFay about the moneylender and track down Linda Walker. What else we got here? Linda Walker's husband and son both died recently as a result of a murder-suicide. Her husband was a drunk who apparently poisoned both himself and the boy. Linda tries to contact the spirit of her dead son. LaFay's testimony. Malcolm Harris borrowed a large amount of money, over 500 crowns, sent a telegram saying he had an emergency to get more time to pay the loan back. Okay, that's it. Alright, so go back to Mr. LaFay.
Oh, Mr. Fordham. Oh, thank God you're back.
What's going on?
Our butler just brought this in. He found it stuck to the gate outside.
Harris family, we have your son. If you ever want to see him again, you must stop building the new airship. We are not joking.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
What is your opinion of this ransom note?
It's obvious who sent it, Mr. Fordham. Why are you wasting your time here? Go arrest Mr. Devons!
Those are all the questions I had for now.
Okay. He's non-casual. He's casual. Alright.
I have some questions for you if you're up to answering them.
Nonchalant is the word I was looking for.
I'll try my best, Mr. Fordham.
Did you read the ransom note?
No, Malcolm wouldn't let me. He said I was already too upset.
That's all for now, Mrs. Harris.
Very well.
Very well. Right. Where's Mr. What? Oh, that was the moneylender. Oh shit, wrong place. Okay. Speak to him again. See if I missed anything.
I don't think he's gonna be of much help right now.
Okay. In that case, I'm stuck. I guess we could go back to the coffee house and see if Upton has anything new.
We haven't anything to discuss right now, Fordham.
Yeah.
Come back when you've got something for me.
Right, maybe our wife then. Or is she going to be stuck in her book?
I've managed to survive the wild streets of New Britannia.
It's always nice to see you walk through that door.
Let her read in peace for now.
Oh. Let's have a look at the newspaper. No, doesn't look like that murder case, the one that looks like it's possibly a serial killer, is in the newspaper.
Get some things done.
I wish you'd let me fix your hair before you go out like that.
It'll be fine.
Well, when I tried speaking to you, Phil said no.
Welcome back, Mr. Fordham.
I don't think there's anything she can.
Okay.
I'll be going.
May this.
Right, let's try the nanny once again.
Hello again, Mr. Fordham.
Oh, he's going over there.
I'll let you know if I have anything else to ask, Mrs. Davis.
All right.
Okay. Track down Linda Walker. How? How do I do that?
I'll be going now.
Right, maybe I do go back to the construction yard and talk to Denver. Or Danver, I can't remember.
Mr. Devons?
Devons.
Yes?
Mr. Devons, what can you tell me about this note?
I've never seen that before in my life.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely. It's as I told you. I had nothing to do with that boy's kidnapping. I didn't even know he existed until you told me. Remember?
Yeah. And that note conveniently showed up right after you had that conversation. Let him stew in his own lines. His unique way of spelling is all the evidence we need to tie him to the note.
Well, Mr. Devons, forget I asked. Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
I don't believe he is the suspect.
This Arthur Devons joker is bad news. Not only is he making threats to the Harris family, he also has the nerve to send the ransom note.
I don't think he did.
Evidence to pin the crime on him.
No.
The police can deal with the headache of actually finding the baby.
No, I don't think it's him at all. Where was the... disgruntled victim of Legia disaster. Hates Clyde Harris, dabbles in dark religious practices, sent a ransom note. I don't think he did.
Say to Harris and his cronies, no!
Yeah, I think we've read that before. Heard that before. Alright, I think I'm going to call it here for this part. I have no idea what we can do next, but we'll find out. Maybe there's extra stuff to look for now. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Have a good day, everyone. Hopefully speak to you soon. Bye.